Good morning. Welcome to Clay in the Potter's Hands, and this is a beautiful cloud-covered sunrise on Little Turtle Island. Share with you a couple of my, I don't use the words I, my, and me, my, and I, but here we go. It's a cool seashell I found this morning. Sitting in the water like that. Hopefully you can see that. And we're gonna do a book reading this morning. A boat's going out. This brother I just talked to is going to look for some salmon. Another seashell. Creator's beauty all around us. Present, omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipotent. And a very large black agate. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And then the seashells. Better view. New to doing this. Globular seashell. And this one. Cool, huh? Okay, I don't know if my eyesight is that bad or it's the camera. Anyhow, I'm going to read a book, a little story this morning. Hopefully the beginning of many. And this comes from Watermelons, Walnuts, and the Wisdom of Allah, and Other Tales of the Hoka. Right here. Wisdom. That's the important part of this whole movie. Wisdom. We're seeking wisdom. So this story today is called Tell Me, When Will I Die? This looks like current state of affairs. Sitting on the branch in which we wish to lop off. Better find a new tree. Okay. One day, as the Hoka was intent on the business of chopping off a rotted limb from his apple tree, the new schoolmaster came along. I say, Hoka, Effendi, if you do not take care, you will fall and hurt yourself, he called. Oh, the Hoka rested a moment from the warm job. But then, do you know I will fall? Are you a fortune teller? Takes wisdom to figure that out. So, he says, oh, the Hoka rested a minute from a warm job. How then do you know I will fall? Are you a fortune teller? Yikes. Need a fortune teller for that? No, indeed, answered the young teacher, but any man who sits on the outside end of a branch he is chopping is certain to fall. Makes sense to me and to any other child, right? Huh. See where this is going. Whoop. There's the branch getting chopped off, and off he goes and falls. Yep. Thank you, young man, said the Hoka. It may be that you know books, all right, but I had been cutting trees since long before you were born. I think I can manage this one by myself. As you will, Hoka Effendi. And the schoolmaster walked off down the road toward the coffee house. Just as the last bit of dust had settled onto the road behind the schoolmaster's heels, The Hoka gave a great thwack with his axe, and the branch broke free. As it fell, so, alas, did the Hoka. Big head, big headache, muttered the Hoka to himself, rubbing the lump swelling under his turban. Ouch. Suddenly a startling thought occurred to him, and he ran with robe aflap down the road toward the coffee house. Coming up the schoolmaster, he gasped, "I say, young man, wait for a moment." The schoolmaster stood patiently until the Hoka had caught his breath. "Minnie will show me the road once my cart has overturned," began the Hoka. "But you pointed the way before I knew my need. You must indeed be a fortune teller. Tell me, I pray, when will I die?" "How should I know, Hoka Effendi?" replied the young man. "Ah, but you do know," insists the Hoka. "Anyone who can tell me when I am going to fall can surely tell me when I'm going to die." Thinking only to humor the Hoka, the schoolmaster said, "Well, if you must know, Hoka Effendi, you will die when your hands and feet turn cold and have no feeling." Thank you, cried the Hoka, "and may Allah give you a long life." And he hurried back down the road to tell his wife the news. A few days later, as the Hoka was coming in from his vineyard, he felt a decidedly odd tingling in his fingers and his toes. Was it? Could it be? He was not left long in doubt, for shortly both his hands and feet became cool, and then cold as marble. "Ai vey," grieved the Hoka. "It is just as the schoolmaster predicted. I am about to die." "I must hurry home and make ready for my funeral." His poor wife could scarcely believe her ears when the Hoka declared he was about to die. As she stood there wringing her hands and weeping, the Hoka tottered over to his sleeping mat on the floor. Come, my dear, weep not for the dead, but for the living. Wash me well and prepare my body for burial." "Then call in the neighbors, and they will bring the village coffin and bear me to the cemetery." In due time, the Hoka was washed and suitably dressed for burial. In came four neighbors with the village coffin, in which the body of the Hoka was placed. Then off they went toward the cemetery, with more and more friends joining the procession as it passed through the village. Every few meters, the pallbearers were replaced by other friends and neighbors who wished to win merit for themselves in the next world by bearing one of Allah's faithful servants to his grave. Shortly before they arrived at the cemetery, they came to a crossroads. Abruptly, they stopped, and a great discussion developed over which road they were to take to reach the Hoka's plot in the graveyard. "I say we should take this one," said the village watchman, waving his hand toward the road to the left. "And I say we should take this one," insisted the storekeeper, waving his hand toward the road to the right. "This road is less muddy." The discussion moved rapidly toward bitter argument, and voices rose and tempers flashed over the issue. Finally, the Hoka roused himself and sat up drowsily. "While I was living," he said slowly, "I always used to go that way," pointing to the left. Then he lay down again in the coffin. The villagers, long accustomed to heeding the Hoka's wise words, took the road to the left, and within a few minutes had removed the Hoka's body from the coffin and deposited the remains reverently in the freshly dug grave. The short service having been conducted with proper respect for the Hoka's position in the community. The mourning procession. There's him still alive, going into his grave. And there's all of the innkeepers coming along. Returned to the village, leaving the Hoka to the silence of the cemetery, to a quiet mulling over of his untimely death. Just as the silence had begun to bear in upon the Hoka uncomfortably, there was a tinkling of caravan bells. As the caravan came closer, the Hoka shook off the dirt from the grave and sat up to look. A group of pottery salesmen had taken a shortcut through the cemetery, their mules laden with pots and vases and plates of all sorts. This was too much. Imagine the indecency of using the cemetery as a shortcut for mules. The Hoka stood up indignantly to confront the peddler leading the small caravan. But alas, as he arose from the grave, the mules took fright and, kicking up their heels, there they go, took flight for their lives, scattering pottery in all directions. Unable to catch the runaway mules, the peddlers unleashed their wrath on the Hoka, the unwitting cause of their distress. They beat him until he was black and blue from nose to toes, and at last they left him for dead in his own grave. By this time, the Hoka had had all he could stomach of death. Aching in every bone and muscle, he crept out of the grave and hobbled slowly toward the village. At length, he arrived at the coffee house, where he stopped to refresh himself before he stumbled on home, and the village men gathered about him eagerly. "I say, Hoka," said one, "you've been dead and buried. Tell me, how are things in the next world?" "Well," replied the Hoka, weighing his words carefully, "everything is fine there, except that you must be careful not to frighten the potter's mules." This tale is so well known in Turkey that anyone whose innocent action brings down a punishment entirely out of scale with the offense is said to have frightened the potter's mules. And there we have watermelons, walnuts, and the wisdom of Allah and other tales of the Hoka. Thanks for watching. I'm clay in the potter's hands, and hopefully the next readings will be better, and videos. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, please. Subscribe. And I will be filming more of this amazing planet and wisdom for you all to enjoy and hopefully get closer to the I Am. Oh. I pray you have a peaceful day. Love one another as I have loved you.